Hey look, Star Wars Battlefront. I have mixed opinions about that game. $60? That was expected. $10 extra for the deluxe edition? Okay, not bad. Ultimate edition, $120 for 4 DLC packs. What? What? What?! If it's anything I haven't heard anybody shut up about in the past 2 months, it's microtransactions and DLC. There are a lot of arguments for and against these things, but they are, for the most part, generally hated. So today, I'll be discussing the pros and cons of microtransactions and DLC, and their impact on the gaming industry as a whole. Now, before I begin, I'd like to give my own personal opinion on the matter, which has nothing to do with the rest of the video, and it just is there so people don't misinterpret what I'm saying and use my words against me in the comments. So, I don't mind microtransactions, as long as they're not being shoved down your throat, and DLC is also fine, as long as you get what you pay for. So with that said, let's get started. For those who don't know, microtransactions are perks of some kind in a game that you need to pay money to obtain. It is generally a practice that is seen in free-to-play games because the developers are giving you their game for free and need to make money somehow. This is why a lot of free mobile games have microtransactions as well as advertisements, because they need to make money somehow, and this is how they can legally do it. Free games as a whole are a whole different topic for a whole different video, but they give people access to a full game without having to pay, which is good because some people can't afford to spend money on games. The pros of microtransactions are, many of the things attainable through microtransactions don't affect gameplay like skins or camos, gives the player access to things they might not have time for and still allows them to have fun with their friends, and lastly, they support the company, which can also be considered a con, but I'll get to that later. The cons of microtransactions are, some items obtainable through microtransactions can affect gameplay. Some things are way too expensive for what they are, and it supports the company, which as I mentioned earlier is a con as well as a pro. One of the good things about microtransactions is that many of them are just cosmetic things like a hat in Team Fortress 2 for example. They don't affect gameplay, so why hate them? Many paid for games do this, but since it mostly doesn't affect gameplay, then nobody cares. However, certain games have been introducing game-breaking microtransactions that drastically affect gameplay. For example, The Last of Us, one of the greatest and most praised games of all time, has microtransactions that basically break the game. Some of the best guns in the game you must pay money to get, and they make it really hard not to buy it when you see everyone else running around and killing you with it. The Last of Us is one of the last games you would expect to have game-breaking microtransactions, and it's kinda funny how many reviewers don't bring this up. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. Microtransactions also become an issue when you pay $60, which is a reasonable price for a game, but then end up paying small amounts of money which can add up to $20 if you're stupid about it, just to keep the game interesting. Another pro of microtransactions I mentioned was that it allows players who don't have so much time for the game still play and be on par with their friends. I will be the first to admit that there are things in life that are more important than video games, so you don't always necessarily have time for them. For example, if you want to stay on par with your friends in a level-based game, you could just buy your way up. However, this can quickly turn into a bad thing when people are buying their way up while still having time for the game. For the sake of example, say when Star Wars Battlefront releases that they had the option to purchase weapons that would normally take hours to obtain. A lot of people would just be buying their way up to get an upper hand on the competition day one. This is something that should be avoided, and this is certainly not how microtransactions should be implemented. As mentioned previously, microtransactions also allow you to support the developer. Free games like the aforementioned Team Fortress 2 have microtransactions that go directly to Valve so they can keep giving us those sweet, sweet summer sales. However, this could also hurt us, the consumer, in a bad way. As a YouTuber you may know, as Ethos once said, "It doesn't matter how smart you think you are or how strong your will is, it is the principle that you are being challenged every time you play the game to buy something new." What he's basically saying is that microtransactions are a system which are specifically created to suck the consumer dry. By purchasing these microtransactions, we are telling the developer, hey, I want this and I am willing to pay money for it. And trust me, they will listen and keep adding them until you have to end up paying $10 for the rest of the game. And the worst of it is, it has already begun. DLC is something that's been around for a while. It's nothing new, but it is doing some new things. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, and I think anybody can agree with this, DLC is perfectly fine as long as you get what you pay for. For example, Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC adds so much more to the game. New items, new quests, new story elements, not to mention it's not necessary to fully enjoy the game. It sets the bar for what DLC should be. However, nowadays we get things like Destiny the Taken King, which add barely anything to the game, and you're basically forced to buy it to fully experience the entire game. Allow me to do the math. there is a reason games cost $60. According to an article by Forbes, 45% of the $60 goes to the developer that made the actual game, which is $27. The rest of the money goes to the publisher, for like Activision or EA for example, and a distributor like Steam or GameStop. You pay $60 for Skyrim and an extra $20 for the Dragonborn DLC, which adds up to $80. Not that bad. However, with games like Destiny, you pay $60 for the base game, $40 for the season pass, don't even get me started, and another $40 for Taken King, which adds up to a hefty $140 for a game with about 4 hours of gameplay tops. The same goes for games like Star Wars Battlefront, which has you paying $60 for the game and an extra $60 for the Ultimate Edition, which gives you 3 weapons that are obtainable very early on, 2 emotes, and the Season Pass, which gives you the 4 planned DLC packs that are yet to be determined. Why would I buy this if I don't know what I'm getting? The 4 DLC packs could be pictures of the same potato but from different angles for all we know. Yet still, people are throwing their wallets at the screen like EA hasn't pulled this stunt before. I am of course referring to Battlefield Hardline, which barely functions at all day one and people passed it off as, oh, they'll fix it. They did end up fixing it, but the point is they knew their game was broken when they released it, so why wouldn't they do it again? Release half a project and release the other half in fragments as DLC for $20 to $40 a pop? Makes enough sense, let's do this with other games. Destiny is in a similar vein to this, where the game was originally complete from the start, but they then cut it into pieces to make even more money. It is a ridiculous practice that should not be tolerated. Like I said, DLC is okay as long as you get what you pay for, but you are certainly not getting even close to what you're paying for. Companies like EA and Activision need to be stopped before every game becomes unfinished unless you buy the rest of it separately. You can make all the angry tweets and Reddit posts you want, it's not going to change what's happening. The age-old saying, vote with your wallets, has never been so true until now in the gaming industry. If you don't like what a company is doing, then don't support them by buying their game. Boycott it if you have to, but don't give them the idea that that is an okay thing to do. I, like many others, can see the second gaming crash coming, and it will come if we don't put a stop to it. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my video. If you liked what you saw, then please consider leaving a like, and if you like even more of what you saw on this channel, then be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to. It's completely optional, by the way. Also, in the comments below, let me know what you think on the whole subject of microtransactions and DLC. Do you like them? Hate them? Do you think they're a spawn of Satan? Do you think that, they're okay, like me? Then yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to hear what you all think. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. If you're into that kind of thing. And that's about it for this video. My name is Matt, aka Games, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.